Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly, what are we saying it is in this game? Oh, right, shop steward. I'll be your friendly shop steward today, because today we are carrying on with our ongoing campaign playing Paizo Publishing's incredible Pathfinder 2nd Edition fantasy RPG, set in our custom setting of the Spires of Paridar, a setting of industrial progress, occult conspiracy, and wealth disparity. And with me today are the stars of the Spires of Paridar campaign. I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here. Why don't you tell us who you are and who are you playing today? First up, we've got Sean.
Hey, I'm playing Golag, son of Doc. He is a orc witch who is a detective and has a helped found a detective agency that we are all members of.
Very nice. Yeah, and I hear he's got a new bestseller coming out soon too. Let me see if I've got the. You know, with the distribution, I mean, it may be difficult to find in some places, but.
Yeah, well, he's going to be on book tour soon, so that's the only downside. He won't be available.
Yeah, it was. Hold on here. I really should have loaded this beforehand if I was going to make this stupid joke. But when have I ever let that get in the way of something like that? All right. Next up, while I'm waiting for that to load, next up is James.
James, and I'm playing Sally Dumer, an Azarketi monk detective. So
very nice.
The underwater member of the party.
She also, I hear, can be seen on stage at times. So first up, let's talk about Golag's impressive works. And then we can talk about Sally's practice on the stage as well. But next up is Ingolf.
Hi, I'm Ingolf. I'm playing Basil Rathbone, who is an Isoki detective investigator. So yeah, let's see where we can, what we can achieve now.
Ingolf will be grateful that I have yet to do Basil's poster yet, so we don't have to wait for that. There's Deep Sally.
Nice.
And last, but certainly not least, is Darren.
Darren, I'm playing Adam Ersprung, who's a back alley doctor. His class is Inventor, level 3, currently homeless still.
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, he does have an abode at the, what is it, the Shadow Illuminations Detective Agency.
It's not the same, though.
It really is nice now. All right. So last session did see quite a bit of detecting and investigating, guys. What happened last time? Let's see, we've got some visual aids here.
Go on, sure.
We each had our morning meeting, morning appointment that I'll just for my own, I met with an old colleague whose name is Skulldug. Yeah. Met with Skulldug at the Tuscan Tankard, our old haunt, and discussed. I discussed with him about.
It's about the creature. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Lob. About that they had investigated Lob as well, but had buried it in essence. And I asked him why, and he just basically confirmed that it was highly sensitive in essence, and that my father had given the rare instruction to destroy all materials. And,
yes. Which you've never known him to do.
Mm-hmm. So, and then I'll let everyone else talk about their own appointments, but and then I'll just say we met at the lake, the famous Poverty Pond, and and did some physical investigation there, finding out some interesting things about the statue, about the pillars, about the spires rather, and the one at the the one at the pond, which was overturned, and instead was a statue of Elwood Eckert himself, that was a little off, and there was a magical aberration of sorts around it or at the top of it that we discovered and needs more thought. Probably, well, for sure, need more thought and possibly investigation around it. And that's what I can think of.
Nice.
So if anyone else wants to talk about their appointments,
yeah,
in the morning,
can do. Yeah, I mean, I met up obviously at the destruction of the clinic. Spoke to Cyrus and Betty, who have gone into sort of, they're staying at Betty's house for now until I can find new accommodation for the clinic. I spoke to Dr. Raycroft about that. He's going to help me hopefully set up some sort of new establishment and hopefully help me with my research. So that was what the doctor was getting up to, and then obviously joined the others at the pond. I don't know if Sally, you want to
so Sally went for a swim in the harbour to try and figure where the corpse that had washed up previously had come from. So I found a handprint on the seafloor, or I think it was on a bit of abandoned boat. That indicated that something humanoid had been down there, but there had been indeed something human-sized near me, but it zoomed off out to sea at huge speed, which seemed a little unhuman-like. So other than that, I nipped back to the park, where people were suggesting I would go swimming in the dank pond, and Sally's drawn the line at that.
And Basil, what did you get up to last time?
Yeah, so I was meeting with Annabelle Carrington and found out that there had been cases of these fires all over the city. I remember, at least I wrote something about 5 fires maybe or so. So there seems to be a kind of a thing going on, and we yet have to find out whether this is kind of a ruse to get to something else, whether this is some kind of, I don't know, killing people for blasphemy as it is supposed to be, or whether it's something completely else. We will have to investigate further. But there seems to be a portal in front of us, which is also very distracting.
Yeah, I think it was after your initial investigations or inspections, it was Igor was the one who really pointed out to Dr. Ersprung that there was something, his eyes were playing tricks on him, but the science did not lie.
So meaning the angle, you mean, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If I remember rightly, where we left it was the raven and the owl sitting in the tree watching the group as we sort of looked at the statue. And I think I decided that me and Igor were going to leave at one of the other exits from the park to see if they followed us, or at least
there is only one way in and out of at least the Poverty Pond area, Eckert Green. That part is only, has only one way in, one way out. But if you're, I don't think it makes a difference if you're, if you're leaving, you're leaving, and you can double back within the park easily. So it is still, it's only a little bit past noon, I believe, when you are all meeting up as well. All of your investigations had taken place in the morning, or was it 2? I have 2 in my head for some reason. Maybe it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon is when you guys met. But so Dr. Armstrong, you and Igor, turn and leave. What are the rest of you guys doing? You're standing right now before there's that ruined base that is made of one of the spires that has been used as the edifice for the statue of Elwood Eckhart. And now that you can see the that the distortion is off, it just feels like it is even more obvious how distorted and warped that this thing is. Sorry, Ingolf, I interrupted you.
No, I was just thinking, didn't Golak try to get his shadow onto the raven or something like that?
Oh, yeah, under the
Yes.
tree.
Yeah, and I think they are under the tree right now, is where we left it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's watching them, and I'm watching through the shadow as, I guess, the good doctor is, we're carrying out that experiment, I think, right? That trying to see what the birds are actually looking at. Is it us, or is it the doctor, or is it, something,
Well, Basil could tell you that it definitely is you, because he used that trick to look in the reflection of his timepiece, and he could see that the owl was, watching him carefully as he approached.
Watching Basil.
Because Basil walked to the edge of the lake to try and look in, to try and coax Sally to go in. And that was, I think, when you guys had noticed the thing.
Interesting. What were our theories about the distortion? Did we have anything brilliant yet about what exactly is going on there?
You believe it was a thinness, from your perspective at least, Golag. This is the kind of thing that happens when there's almost a pushing on the what do you call it? I'm trying to tell the mana. Pushing on the mortal realm from one of the others, similar to where the those creatures, the shadow creatures, came from.
Okay.
Another very dangerous realm.
It seems like the borders to other realities are very thin in this city. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the many mysteries to be uncovered here. But what you see is the he seems to go away. Dr. Armstrong seems to go away, and you see no movement or any reaction from either the barn owl or the raven.
They're still focused on Basil.
They seem to be looking over in your direction. You can't see through their eyes, so it's tough to tell what.
Right
What you know is that what Basil had noticed before, or Basil had noticed, it was that there are some, like one of them was looking at, they seem to both be looking at the statue, and then as Basil was walking up, the owl's head turned over. But as far as Basil can tell, he managed to conceal the fact that he spotted it. He had just opened his timepiece and then closed it. Mm-hmm. It does not seem that Dr. Ursprung's departure has made any difference for the two of them. They seem to still be sitting in those eaves looking at you. Or looking in your direction, at least.
So one of our original thoughts was to survey the area for the body. Hopefully that we do not find it in that sense, but should we follow through with that a bit more? Make sure that there's no sign of let's see, his name I'd have to look for, but the gentleman that was lost, his wife.
Winifred Shea was the wife.
Yeah, and Dan was the husband.
Dan was
Daniel.
He was a dwarf, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Shea. Yeah, there you go. Maybe look for maybe make sure he's not elsewhere here other than the pond. Maybe take a little time and walk around and make sure that's not the case while we're here. And then I don't know, approach the pond in some way. How big did you say the pond was?
The pond is quite large. Like it's got to be. It's big enough that you could. You can see the other side of it. Obviously, it's not like miles across, but it's. It's big enough for people to comfortably have. If it was better maintained and for a more affluent clientele, you could easily could see people having boats and whatnot and relaxing in the middle of the pond. It isn't the kind of thing that people go swimming in, but I mean, it's big enough that you can comfortably, people can comfortably be out on it and not feel like they're on top of one another.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. Good size. I'm not sure how we approach it necessarily. If we want to look more into it more, given its size and whatnot. But what say we cover the land anyway and have a look around. Since we're all here, it's a good time, I think, to make sure that there's nothing. Maybe we find the bikes or something. It's possible. He apparently was looking for his children's bikes. Some clues. And hopefully not the corpse. So let's say we take the opportunity to do that since we're all here.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me how you're going to look for these, conduct this search here.
Spread out, give each other so much room, and assign. Do some kind of assignment of we walk. We say, hey, you take
this
over
is like
here.
the walking through the field with a pole kind of thing when kids get missing, or are you talking to people who are in the park, or?
I was just thinking the former at the moment, at least. Okay. Cover the former first because it's so direct.
Okay.
And make sure we don't miss anything.
So why don't we do this? Let's let somebody take the lead on the. Let's see here. I think this is probably going to be a perception check, but I'm open to or survival. It's like survival is what you use for tracking. So I'd be open for either of those, and then others. One person can do it, and I'll let the other three assist with that. So you'll make a DC 20 check to be able to add +1 or +2 on a crit.
I don't know who's the most.
And I'll let you guys as well use whoever the primary person is. You're going to pick either perception or survival as your skill, but the others can use other skills. You can tell us how you're assisting with it.
So we got a couple of sevens. Anybody else?
+7s for perception. Sally and Basil, do you guys have any? If not perception, then what about survival? Or I'm not sure if there's other nature. Maybe if you're going into the woods to look for disturbances.
Yeah, maybe I would just use perception as well. That's maybe the simplest thing.
Okay. And what about you, Sally?
Yeah, I've got the same for me.
Okay.
I don't think I've got anything special otherwise.
No problem. Then why don't we have who's taking the lead on this then? Who's feeling lucky today?
Let's see. I don't know if I have any.
Yeah, well, maybe I should just take the lead because no one else will.
Yeah.
All right. So Dr.
perception for some reason.
Yeah, Dr. Earthsprung, Sally, and Golag, would you each give us a perception check, please?
Yeah.
Also,
and I assume I've walked around the block and just come back in.
Yeah. With the as well too. We started a little bit late today, but with an admirable summary, why don't you each take a hero point as well? I'll just keep it on the every half hour. I'll award hero points once again, because otherwise I inevitably lose track.
And that means we should have 2, right, Kevin?
Everyone should have 2 now, yeah. And those are not terrible rolls. Are you guys all just quite... No, those are not great rolls.
No. So I would say this is the subject of my investigation right now, so I get a +1.
Which investigations do you have ongoing right now? Because I think you can have up to 3, can't you?
Yeah, might be. So I think right now it's...
might be. That is the right answer for a DM who's uncertain of the rules. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just thinking of 2 I'm going to investigate right now, so it doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3, and I know it must be at least 2. So
okay.
So I think one of the points would be find the missing person in the park.
Okay.
So that would be the one thing, and the other one would be find out about these fires, whatever they. Okay. Whatever is related to them. So.
Yep, I buy that.
Yeah.
So then, but I think you also declared the what's it called? The Black Wall. The Black Wall is another investigation you're also working on. That was the ship with the.
Oh yeah. Maybe yeah.
Let's just quickly look it up here, and then we won't have to do it again, Max. I think it's like 3.
It might be depending on the level.
Oh,
also.
maintain 2 active investigations at a time.
Yeah.
If you pursue a lead after that, you must be different from your current investigations, and you give up the current choice. Once you've given up pursuit, so it's basically this day you won't be able to pursue stuff relating to the Black Wall, because I don't think you did anything relating to that today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
except for your button collection. Your button collection did come in, but I think you got a crit on that. Remember when you identified the buttons in the sleeve that Sally retrieved from the harbor?
Well, come on, then this isn't part of my investigation. I have no problem.
All right, so Basil, you spend a hero point then?
No, I just wrote an 18.
Okay, and then your perception gives what? Or your investigation gives +2?
No, +1, so it's 19. If I
19.
use it,
Okay, so that's not. Here's what you find.
Come on. I should spend a hero point right now. And
That's the
reroll
spirit. None of your allies did. So, and I mean, you've got 2 right now anyway. Dr. Earthsprung, you should have 2 as well.
Yeah,
there you go. All right.
24.
So while your allies spend some time tromping around trying to find anything, there's 2 curious things that you come across. One of them, Basil, is that you do find the bike that was apparently missing. It looks like there is, it looks like it somehow got, it fell down somewhere. It may have been placed up against a tree and then sort of like fell down a slope and got concealed by some bushes. But you have been able to find that. So at the very least, Mrs. Shea should be happy that you've got her kids' no doubt expensive, pedal bike back. The other curious thing you find is as you've collected that, and it's pretty, fortunately, it's sized for children. So it's about, it's not so unmanageable for you to be able to bring back out of the bush. But as you're bringing it back out, you're looking down, and what you see is a very thick, hoof print. And it's an unshod hoof, so there's no horseshoe that's on it. And it's in the middle of the woods here. And if you track around a little bit in some of the softer earth here, there are a couple of other hoof prints. And similarly, they are, they seem to be of an unshod. Like there's no horseshoe that's been put on these things. Would you give us a nature check, please?
Oh, yeah, that's... Okay, so let's see. 16.
You're pretty sure it's a horse as well? That's the only thing that I was asking you to roll for. It's not like a goat or, a deer. You're fairly certain, but you'll want to talk to someone who knows more about this stuff. But you're fairly certain it's a horse or something similar to a horse.
Okay. So I think I would inform the others about the hoof print, and maybe Golak, you could. I would signal him to watch what his shadow is seeing. Also, if we are finding the hoof prints, maybe the animals will react in some way.
Okay, so I think you guys have. This has taken you about probably about an hour of wandering around, kind of like inspecting everything, and you're all sort of. I think coming back to around the same area where you started, and you can see Basil is pushing this bicycle along. And it doesn't take you any time to put together that, it must be the kid's bike. He's not just mugged some poor child. Is Basil riding it? It's still functional.
Yeah, but it was some kind of uphill, and I think Basil is also a little bit lazy.
So he's walking it along, got it.
Well, it's different. So it's not a hamster on a wheel; it's hamster on wheels.
Exactly.
Nice.
So what does Basil say as you all kind of come back together? Golag, curiously, in spite of the height of the sun beating down here, seems to be casting no shadow still.
So I found the bike, and I found something else. But maybe Golag, you should have a look at the thing in the far end as well.
Have a look at the hoof print, you say?
Yeah, I think I'm just now informing that there is a hoof print. As far as I understood, you didn't know. So.
Yes. No.
Yes.
I will take a look. Well, I'm curious about the proximity to the hoof print to the bike, perhaps too.
No. You should just have an eye on the birds in
the birds. Yeah. I do so. I'll switch to the shadow.
Yep. Does not seem to be, no reaction seems to be forthcoming from either of them.
Okay. Yeah, then it's a shame that Adam isn't here. I mean, he would have known something about horses, maybe. Sally, do you know something about horses?
Dr. Ursprung is back down.
Seahorses,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm back now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So.
Yep, only seahorses.
Seahorses? No, that's not helping so much.
So we could have a peek, but
When you looked at the birds, are the birds watching us, or are they still watching the statue? That was the only query I had.
It's tough to tell from where the shadow's located. Because he'd be down looking up, so the birds are looking in the direction, but it's difficult to tell whether they're looking precisely at you guys or at the statue.
Well, if we go and investigate this footprint or horse print, and then maybe see if we can tell whether the birds are looking at us or the statue.
Okay. If you do that, are you all heading off in the direction that Basil said?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. You do, and what you find is that it's more conspicuous on the owl because it has that that rotating head thing. The owl seems to be for certain following where you guys are going. So, if you tromp into the bushes, once you disappear into the bushes as well, the owl its head snaps back and looks at kind of meeting eyes with the raven. It doesn't take long for Basil to bring you to where the hoof prints are, and then Golag, seeing these, would you give us a nature check? See if you can give any further insight into what this might be.
Give it a shot. Golag's a city boy, but we'll see what happens.
Now
there
one.
you go. There you go. It's appropriate. It's appropriate.
So I think, Basil, you're telling him, like, okay, it's going to be right up, and then Golag steps directly onto one of the hoof prints.
Found it.
Where is it? Where should I be looking again?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and you realize that he has trod over all of the other prints. Somehow he has managed to get his fancy, custom leather shoes trod all over these hoof prints. You can, of course, spend a hero point to get around that if you'd like, Golag, but...
Yeah, I probably should. Just because of the pants. Just because of the shoe and pants situation.
Exactly. It's his sartorial concern always
Yes.
That, then the investigation.
There you go. That's just poor. That's not...
that's so you get over... He's about to step in it, and Basil, you're just like... Pshat! You make a little squeaking sound, and you're... What the... And you see that there is this you're able to gather about as much as what Basil says. And in fact, you're like, well, was someone riding through here? And that's when Basil points out, you don't even pick up that there's no horseshoe on this hook.
Just for curiosity, do we know in the city about something like centaurs?
There aren't really centaurs in the city, but you're aware of them. They are those are something that exist in the world.
Interesting.
And so we feel pretty confident, Basil, it's a horse, right?
Yeah, or something that is like a horse.
Yeah, we should have someone look at this, probably.
There's no sign of any sort of cart or anything, like it was a horse pulling a cart.
No, definitely. And there's this is in the thick of the
in the bushes.
Yeah, the bushes, and setting aside that there's no tracks for it, it would also be tearing through there. And I mean, Paradar's had cobblestone streets for hundreds of years, so to preserve, if you're using a a horse for labor or whatnot in here. Like, unless you're the most irresponsible owner, you're going to be having,
Hooves,
shod hooves.
Shod, yeah.
Can we tell on timing? Can we tell how old it is?
Not from what you've gathered here, no. It looks, I mean, it's fresh enough to be able to identify it, but in terms of whether this happened yesterday or a week before, I mean, it's fresh enough that, like, it's for sure within a month. Paridar sees a fair amount of rain, so you would have thought this would have been washed away or something. It's fresh enough that it's not something that's, months old.
Yeah. And it seems out of place where it is, right? It's kind of like, it's in a bush. It's ice. It's one print.
Why horses, generally speaking, aren't like woodland creatures. Far too many things to turn an ankle and break a leg. And there's not, at least as far as you're aware of, there's not, people riding unshod horses through the bushes in here. So it just, and on top of that too, like, looking around, Basil, there's just not the amount of disruption you would expect from a creature as big as a horse either.
Mm-hmm. So can we see that where the horse was going? So is it somehow out of the region from the portal or more into that direction?
It is coming from the direction. Like, if you turn and look back, what you can see is you're not that far away from the statue itself. So if Dan and his wife were here near the statue, and he was looking for the kids' bikes near the statue, this is not far off from that. But looking back, what you're really looking at is it goes directly past the statue and the plinth that it's on, and directly into the lake or the pond.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's where the hooves, they come from the edge of the bushes. Whatever this creature is, it was coming from the edge of the bushes in.
Okay. So, Sally, maybe it's a seahorse, or at least a pond horse.
That's a mighty seahorse indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what do I hear of these things? You have on land unicorns, right?
Unicorns exist in this setting as well.
So I'm rather thinking that this is some kind of, I don't know. This seems like a more like a natural kind of beast, maybe. I don't know. Some weird thing, maybe from another plane of existence.
I wonder if this city. I wonder if we could bring in. I wonder if there's any such thing as park rangers. Are there such thing? Do we know of things like park rangers?
There are for the nicer parts of the park, but again, like this part, this has been from what Mrs. Carrington said. This part of the park has been a problem and sort of been overrun for decades, like well before when Eckhart decided to develop this thing and slap his name on it. So there's not really, there's not really anyone here. What you could do, I'm just looking up the lore. Anyone can give us a occultism check, or please.
All right.
Nice roll there, Sally.
Yeah, I think I will roll as well.
I don't believe in ghosts, apparently.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Basil, Dutch Ursprung, and Golag. So the combination of the natural, the hoof prints, and your observation that it doesn't seem to be disturbing things, it makes you think of a legend you've heard. It's said that there are creatures not of this world, that will tempt creatures down, especially vulnerable things, down to the water shore, promising that they will let them, presenting themselves as something akin to unicorns, beautiful horse-like creatures. Come ride me, come ride me. But when the duped individuals ride these things, it drags them into the pond and drowns them and then devours them. The name you've heard for these things are Kelpie. I can tell you, Basil, that nothing... you've never heard of a Kelpie being in the city. These are... it's a type of thing that lurks in the wild places, in the untamed, areas of deep forests and things like that. Like, this is not something that rises up from the sewer. There are many, many things that have adapted, like the gargoyles that you fought, with a few months back. These things, they don't really adapt to the settings because they're not of this, they're not of the same world as what has been developed in Paridar. The natural environments generally are ruined so that they simply cannot really exist. They can't walk between the worlds the way they can so easily elsewhere.
Yeah.
That would.
I was just going to say, I'm getting more and more interested in this disturbance around the statue, to the point where I think the doctor's going to go and see if he can pick up a stone or a pebble and try and sort of throw it through this disruption to see if it almost disappears or passes through it, or if there's any sort of effect, as if it's some sort of gateway almost.
So you go up and you grab, you walk out of the undergrowth, leaving the stuff behind. You look, it takes you a little bit of time you actually are able to find, I think, a stone more easily near the side. You walk up to the plinth with the statue atop, and then what do? Are you throwing it at the statue?
Well, I'm trying to work out where this difference in the angle is, and we saw this sort of slight shimmer or sort of...
Well, you don't. What you know is that the measurements that you take with your tools don't accord with what your eyes are seeing, and the more you're looking at it, the more it seems like it's off. Golag is the one with using his magical senses that was able to detect that thing. So, but to the naked eye, it does not. But if you decide to just toss a rock at the statue and see what happens,
or where he described it, and I'll throw a few if I
okay.
feel
So you
that,
look and you toss one rock, pink, it goes off of it. You toss another one, pink. And then you hear from a passerby saying, "That's right, son. Fuck that man."
Yeah, I just smirk and sort of nod my head and continue.
Continue throwing. So plink, plink. Nothing seems to be happening. You're getting a good sound, and you get similar comments from working class families of like, "Yeah, fuck Eckhart."
Yeah, I'll gesture for Golag to sort of come over when he comes out of the undergrowth to show me where this disturbance is, so I'm making sure that I'm sort of aiming in the right place. Okay.
So Golag, you come out as well too. Your shadow, if you spare any time sharing senses once again, you can see that with the return of Dr. Ursprung and you all from the bushes, you once again have the attention of those the two birds. Dr. Ursprung seems to be tossing stones at Eckhart's statue. What do you say, Dr. Ursprung?
Experimenting, eh, Doctor?
Where was that strange disruption you mentioned? I'm seeing if it's some sort of gateway.
I will do my best to describe to the doctor what I detected. where it was.
Okay. So you do your best to give the description. Why don't you give us any of your range attack rolls there, Dr. Earthsprung?
What have I got here?
I don't know if you've got anything on there.
Yeah, I've got a dagger.
Okay. Little wide on that one. Oof. You gonna try again?
Yeah.
Twink.
Is
That seemed to hit solid.
Is that the right area?
Twink. He's hitting right where you saw the locus of the disturbance go like. Nothing seems to be happening.
Okay. It was just a theory that maybe there's some rip between this world and some other where them shadow creatures come from.
And I think that what Golai could maybe explain is, and I'll let you do it in your own terms, is that the passageway, like when he uses the phrase passageway, it doesn't mean that it's open for anyone to necessarily go through. What it might mean is, and he's not even certain that this is just a weakness perhaps between I think we talked about sound carrying between walls, where there, sound from an adjacent room with to another one with cheap walling or cheap insulation, you'll easily be able to hear that, and that's sort of what is happening here. To actually, there are creatures that can move through those. You've met some of them most recently as the masters of the Endless Order, or the Elder Order of the Endless Odyssey. With this, there are creatures that could pass through it, but you need to have the means by which to do so. So unless you have a way of making that passage, it's unlikely that you would see the what do you call it? It's unlikely that you would be able to notice that. Okay.
You wonder if there's a connection between our theorizing about the Kelpie, and which would be unexpected, which matches perhaps it
seems strange that this is a used park and no one's seen such a creature, but maybe once the gates are locked, if someone was left here,
indeed,
they could appear during the evening.
Yes.
You recall, Basil, putting your hands down in the water, and like you could not, if you put your arm down to your elbow, you'd lose sight of your hand. It's so full of particulates and whatnot that like it would not be hard for, if there is an aquatic creature that did not need to surface, it would not be hard for it to remain hidden here.
And
I think we should stay the night, just watch.
Interesting theory, interesting idea.
I'll ask the question of these people, everyone who knows about these kelpies. So are they freshwater or seawater creatures, or they don't care? Have you heard? It's the rumor.
Generally, it's freshwater, the stories that they've heard of. It's not down by the seashore that things are called down. It's generally... it may be why you've never heard of something like this, Sally. It's more that things brought down to the river, brought down to the pond or to the lake shore, and then, dragged beneath the waves.
As you said, that explains why I don't know about it. And it means it probably isn't what I was aware of in the harbour either.
Correct.
No, I wouldn't think so. But maybe we could try to make contact with those birds, or whoever uses those birds.
Do you think it's something to do with your friend from the Whisper Network watching you?
I don't think I've talked about that to anyone. So how did you know about this?
I thought you mentioned it.
No.
I don't think, but maybe I have. So I mean, we could play it that way. So.
I thought. No. I thought we went to the same building.
No, he met with...
oh, no, that's right.
Yeah, on his own, because he was going to meet Annabelle Carrington there.
Annabelle, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I think for Basil, that person is kind of scary, and you wouldn't like to admit that you feel that way, so...
Oh, okay. No, it was only because the owl seemed to be watching you sort of fairly distinctly, but okay. No, that's cool.
Yeah, but don't you think that those birds are connected somehow to the pond?
Yes, they're part of the puzzle. We should consider them part of the puzzle until we can eliminate them. I think that's fair. Because we have the hoof print, we have the potential kelpie that at least fits it. It fits it so nicely that we certainly have to consider that as a possibility with the missing husband and missing disappearances all along of other folks that have disappeared. And then the statue, the oddity about the statues. That's what we have here. And is there any possibility that Kelpie used this oddity with the statue to get here where we wouldn't expect it to be here otherwise? Is a question I have.
The curious thing is that you are the spires themselves are just an enduring mystery for pretty much any of the magicians or whatnot who live, even all the masters, the deans of the College of Magic at Collingwood University. They still know nothing about them. The fact that you happen to notice on this one broken one that there was that weakness there, that maybe may be the first person other than those who built these things to notice that abnormality.
It could really put us on the map. Shirts, hats.
Exactly. We're gonna move some books here now.
Are we proposing to stay the night then? I mean, do we think that's
an idea? Yeah.
Have we? If that was to be the case, have we got anything to resist the charms of such a creature?
Our wits and our superior detective skills.
They seem quite powerful.
I think you just let me deal with them then. They can try and drown me if they like.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, that's also a good idea.
I didn't think you wanted to go in such a...
That's true. So I would be extremely harsh on them if they took me into that pond.
And I think the story did end with the Kelpie devouring its victim. So there is that to consider.
Yeah, that's not that bit I don't like.
Yeah. It's a fair comment though, Doctor. If I guess we could do a bit more research into their methods to be a little better prepared, and then the idea is pretty good though. I like the direct.
Do we need some sort of bait? And everyone else.
The creature can only charm one person.
Everyone else hides, and we form some sort of trap.
We've got friends or acquaintances at the Occult University, haven't we? So maybe they can shed light on this.
One vice dean
critter.
And one dean.
True. And as I think Basil just mentioned that perhaps it would only charm one of us. That it wouldn't be a group situation. We could ensure that at least, perhaps, with a little bit of questioning of better experts on this matter, that they go after a target, not a group. So therefore, one person would be battling the charm, and the rest would be able to assist ably and soberly. At the very least, we could determine that.
Or maybe we should speak to was it Professor Morris Watson?
Sure.
Was that the man at the college, Collingwood?
Morris Watson Full was the vice dean of divination.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'd at least get a reference, if nothing else.
Professor Galberry was the dean of conjuration.
Yeah, maybe approach
Professor
them, and if they say, talk to my colleague next door, then we do that. But they could be our liaison for better. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
we always like Professor Goldberry.
Indeed. Leshy.
Yes. And one of my favorite voices to do. So All right.
Start there.
So looking around, what you can see, as you're studying, that there's obviously the thick murk of the pond now. Obviously, is, I think, viewed in a different light from what you saw before, and you're thankful that there's no kids swimming in the pond or anything like that. But you do see kids on the on the shore that are skipping stones or like tossing twigs in there and letting them go off. Perhaps one, very, very fortunate child has a rudimentary, clockwork radio-controlled boat that's sort of like go, going out into the onto the pond. But
well, yeah, maybe we could get all this done today and spend the night tonight to get on top of it. Because it would seem unlikely that it would attack in daylight, or else, as we've noted, we'd know more about it. The city would know more about it if this thing just, attacked wantonly in broad daylight. Then there'd be crime reports. If
there were bodies found that could be sensationalized by reporters like Mrs. Carrington, then they would have to, the public outcry would be that they would have to respond to it. The fact that these bodies have gone missing, though, that's enough of an excuse for the constabulary to be just washing their hands of it.
So I think it's highly unlikely that they'll attack in the day, but Dr. Earthsprung finds himself a little bit at loose end because of his clinic situation. So I think he's going to stay in the park after seeing all these children playing around the pond. He's a bit concerned. So he suggests that him and Igor stay while you go to the university to quiz them, just in case.
And keep an eye on those owls if they stay. You can be on watch.
Yeah, I shall certainly keep an eye on the birds as well.
Okay.
I would say I would stay with Igor here, and you go and visit the university maybe.
Okay.
Just in case, so he isn't alone, because it's my theory that this creature can only charm one person. So.
Okay.
I'll take my shadow back.
Okay. It reappears on you. You sort of, and what we see is that you walk along in the sunlight, you walk in the shade of a tree, and then as you continue walking along, your shadow is now back, being cast as normal with you, because it needs to travel through shadows. I think you get back to, I'm assuming you've used your, one of the ways you get around Paridar is by making use of that clockwork carriage that was provided to you. So I think you get back in there, you crack open the door, and then you, I think at this point you have sometimes forgotten, because you have not known Stitches that long, that it's alive. So when you get in, this doll sort of looks at you. Stitches, you have been napping.
Been practicing my fake doll form for a bit.
Yeah. So then it moves into, right. The thing's alive.
Oh. Well.
Hello.
Stitches?
How long have I been napping?
A while.
Is there mystery to be had?
Oh, many. Welcome. We are investigating a missing husband at Poverty Pond, and have come up with some significant clues, including there is a pillar. There is one of the city's spires, if you will, that is toppled over. Near Poverty Pond, that we have detected is magical in a very odd sense. The statue, they put a statue of Eckert on the base of where the pillar had fallen, toppled, and it is off by a little bit, kind of in a notable way, and there is magic at the top, some kind of rift, some kind of we don't know exactly what, but
are those pillars supposed to be impervious to magic?
Indeed, they are complete mysteries to the city, and unknown in purpose or specific origin. And this is the first information that I am aware of that anyone's ever detected about them. But that's there, and then we found an unaccounted for hoof print near. Well, we found. Let me say, we found a bicycle that the husband was supposedly going after when he disappeared. We found the bicycle, and we found a hoof print in a bush, in a shrubbery, where really it shouldn't be. We don't have any necessary proof of its involvement in our situation, but it is odd enough that we are adding it to our list of things to look into. It's unshot. It was unshodden. We don't know the time frame of it, but it is clean enough that it seems reasonably proximate in time. And we have there are two birds in a tree, owl and a raven, I believe, near the statue that seem to be watching us. We're pretty sure we're watching Basil, in particular, is our theory. We're pretty sure about that, but it's watching us anyway. And seems to be watching us, watching the statue. But anyway, everything else is speculation except for the fact that it's watching us, probably Basil. And then we have a theory that we are aware that there's these creatures known as Kelpies, thank you, that seem to fit what is happening in these disappearances that exist in water, appear as creatures that could lure someone near the water and then would jump them and devour them. And that fits what's going on here. We don't have any proof that's what's happening, but the pond is opaque. And so our current approach is to try to either firm that up or eliminate it by spending the night in the park and see if we see anything mysterious, because we've determined whatever machinations are happening, they must be happening at night since it's mysterious. If it was in the day, we'd know about it. Like, people would know. There'd be crime reports, there'd be sightings, and there's none of these things. And in fact, the husband disappeared right as the park was closing, which matches with what would be needing to happen for no one to understand what's going on. And to prepare for that overnight, myself and Sally are going to the university to get a little more information about the Kelpies to make sure we're prepared if we hopefully encounter them in the evening. So that's what we've been up to.
Well, I am well rested and would be eager to help. The whispers tell me things sometimes, so I may be of use.
Delightful. You have a choice at this time. You can either go with us to the university, or you can stay with Basil and Dr. Ursprung, who are going to stay here and keep an eye on things, watch the birds, see if their attention digresses from what it's been, make sure that there aren't any attacks, which we don't think would happen during the day, but as the day progresses, they're going to, because there are quite a few people here and children. It's your choice. Go with us or go with them. Stay with them.
Well, you're here now, so I should follow you in case I get lost.
Off we go.
Okay. The clockwork vehicle, or clockwork vehicle starts up, and then it obviously gets a lot of attention as this thing fires up and begins driving without any passengers, without any horses, I should say. You do startle a horse. I think Golag is still getting the hang of driving this thing. So you sort of cut a horse off,
and I do the top hat thing. Like the friendly wave with cars.
In Fish Called Wanda, when what's his name, Kevin, whatever, Kevin Kline's character keeps cutting people off because he's driving the wrong side of the road. Asshole! Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Doff the cap. Yep.
Okay, so you pull out and pull away. So where is it you're intending on heading then?
The university to find, I guess we'll go with the Galberry, Professor Galberry. Whoever's available. Like, if someone we can't find one person, we'll go to either, we'll start with Galberry, I think. But if we happen to run into Watson Full, either, we'll at least get a reference from them if they're not familiar.
The magic, the College of Magic is its own sort of like big building, but it would be separated into different, the different schools. So the School of Conjuration would be a separate part of the different departments you'd be going to. So you wouldn't, unless you stumbled into them, going through the entrance, you would be heading off to the Conjuration department or the Divination department or whatever.
We'll go to Professor Galberry's area and see if we can scare her up.
Okay. I believe he identifies as a him.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
Whatever I said. We'll see if we can scare him up.
Okay. So you guys make your way in. Stitches, what is your speed again?
I believe.
Are you tiny? Are you like dwarf speed or how?
He's small size, so 25.
Well, 25 I think is normal speed.
I think I have a feat for that.
Oh, are you okay?
No, hold on.
Your fleet?
This is just 25. So
it's not okay. Yeah, I don't have.
I'm just double checking.
Sure.
I've got Hero Lab open here.
Yeah, because I think because of the size.
Speed's 25. I am small size, not tiny, but I'm on the small size of small.
Okay. So you got this comically fast-moving legs on this little doll that's accompanying you, and you guys head off to the Conjuration department. And there is, I think, as you go in, you can see that there, this place is full of. It's not uncommon for casters to have familiars or other sort of summoned things. This place is just full of bizarre magical creatures. So like there's a person sitting behind the desk, and there is a creature that looks to be, there's a bit of parrot in there, there's a bit of weasel in there, but it also seems to be a bit of, I don't know, like pufferfish maybe, because this thing is sort of like drifting along and just sort of like lazily drifting above the head of this secretary who seems to be hard at work with a some kind of typing apparatus. You walk in, and the floating, weasel thing sort of turns towards you and fixates. And the woman, without turning her, looking up, says, "Do you have an appointment?"
Afraid not. But we are friends with Professor Galberry, and
it's the dean you wish to see?
Kevin, is he the dean?
He is the dean.
Okay. Yes. Just for a moment, perhaps, if he could squeeze us in.
He does have classes right now, but if you wait, what's your names? Again, she's not looking up. It's the feather, thing that's paying attention to you.
This is Sally Dumire. I am Golag.
Okay.
And I am Stitches.
And this is Stitches. I beg your pardon. I look down.
The thing sort of drifts up and then looks down and sees you. And she says, "Huh. Wait." And she stops typing and looks over. "Are you Deep Sally?"
Indeed. You familiar with me?
I did. I saw your retrospective at the, what was it? The Edges Playhouse. One of the things that you were talked into early on was to give sort of like, descriptions of you being brought on to packed houses.
Oh, well, I'm delighted that you recollect. Was it of interest, what I got to tell you?
Very much so, very much so. Thank you so much, ma'am. It wouldn't be too much bother, would it, if I were to get your signature?
Why, certainly.
Oh, and you see her ruffling around on her desk. She finally pulls something up and says, "There you are. Thank you so much." It's just a regular piece of paper. It's not even like a playbill or anything like that.
I do a big sweeping signature.
Okay. And she
flourishing.
Turns to Golag and says, "You should see the fascinating, what a fascinating world that she describes of the world beneath the waves."
Oh, yes, very much so. It's Golag, then absentmindedly, he's going to look for a comfortable seat.
Yeah. Yes. Sits down. Stitches, you have to sort of pull yourself up onto the chair and get yourself down. So she takes it from you and she says, have you met with Professor Galberry before?
And he just looks at
He's
Sally,
talking to, or she's talking to Sally.
Yeah, good.
Why, yes. We have had the privilege. He was able to assist us in the past.
Us?
A very...
in performance?
A very impressive man.
Are you... And he looks over at... Is that the orc investigator? You were the ones who... you were the ones with that business with the seances. Is that right?
That... Absolutely.
You know...
And Professor Goldsworth was so wonderful at helping.
Is this? And she leans in conspiratorial, and then the almost like unconsciously that floating thing sort of drifts in as well too. Is this for a case then?
I could not say.
Understood. Todd. And there is someone who comes in. Todd is one of Dr. Galberry's graduate students. Todd, would you kindly, and she scribbles something down, bring this note to Dr. Galberry. And he looks at it, looks at you guys, of course, and he leaves, and she says, I'll have him summoned. Todd can fill in. It's a tedious lecture anyway. I think if there is something... there's important business going on, I'm certain that Professor Galberry would prefer it brought to his attention.
Locums are so useful.
She leans in. Is it involving the doll?
No, he's here just to cheer us up.
Oh, I'm not sure she knows what to do with that. Very well.
Stitches just gives you a blank look with his head sideways.
Then I'm sure he'll be along shortly. Please have a seat. And she holds up the signature like it's a treasured thing. She says, "Thank you so much."
And I do hope, if I do another session, I do hope you'll be there. Do let me know if you're present next time.
I will. Their opening night, most certainly. Thank you so much. That would be a delight. And she takes her seat. You can see that even though she's gone back to work, her, like, whatever this floating feathered thing is, it's still keeping its eye on you and it's sort of drifting up and down. You look around, doesn't seem to be any reading material.
And no tea. He's like looking around the room. Someone surely is going to take his tea order.
Yeah. It appears that the life of an academic is not as lucrative as that of an insurance agent. So it's about you guys feel free to do or talk about anything you like. If not, then about 15 minutes pass, and then finally Dr. Galberry comes back in, or Professor Galberry comes back in, and that's Rolly Galberry. And he has, unlike the illustration, he's got a little wig propped up on his head, and he's got the full robes of a lecturer. And I think his like, the fungus drapery that he's got over his head is fixed more like the kind of like puffy, Oxford style lecturer's hat than the just mantle that he's got on in the illustration. He walks in and he says, "I heard there was an emergence. Mr. Gulag, Mrs. Dumer, and... Oh.
Hello.
Hello. Perhaps we should take this to my office. Veronica, would you be so good as to bring us refreshments?" And she says, "Of course, Professor." You get up. So you lead him down. He leads you down into his office, and his office is it's actually it's bigger than the small cramped ones that you pass as you go by, but it's not much more. Like it's probably not even as big as sort of the audience, not audience, but the office that you use to meet with clients and prospective clients. It is maybe about 20 feet by 10 feet, and much of that space is taken up by shelving units full of books and scrolls and incantations, and there are a bunch of different. They're almost like magical terrariums that have various bizarre creatures in them. Some seem to have liquids of various colors in there. Some seem to be full of different powders or whatnot. And one you could swear seems to be filled with just the dead of night. And something inside there hits the inside of the glass as you look at it. He goes over to a fairly low-slung desk that has a big chair in it. And he takes off his mantle, he takes off his wig and his robes, places them down, and says, "Please, make yourself comfortable. Now, is this something, this creature you bring with you, is this what you wish to discuss with me? Because if so, my day has gotten considerably more interesting than it was."
Well, it's not, but let me introduce Stitches, please.
"Forgive me." He walks over. "There are those who make such mistakes with me, Stitches. I do apologize. I am Professor Roddy Galberry."
Yeah, he reaches up 2 hands to shake and says, "Greetings, I'm Stitches."
How tall is Stitches again?
Just double checking. It's been a little bit. He is 1.5 feet tall.
1.5 feet tall. Okay, so you're about half of Galberry's height then. So he shakes your hand.
So Galberry's down there too, huh? Galberry's pretty short.
Yeah, he was only like 3.5 feet tall. Yeah.
Oh, I had him at 7. Oh, there you go.
Oh yeah, no. He's not. He's tiny. He's a wee little guy. Then, tell me, what can I assist you with? Todd said it was an emergency.
Well, yes, at least an urgency. It's we are looking into some disappearances, Professor, of around Poverty Pond that you may be familiar with to some extent.
Eckert's Green, you mean?
Indeed.
I am familiar with the location, but not. I am not familiar with it in a direct manner.
Yes, there have been disappearances, and we have been retained to look into one of them.
Good.
We have a theory that a Kelpie might fit what has happened, even though it'd be unusual for it to be in such an urban setting from our limited knowledge of such a creature.
What makes you think a Kelpie might be responsible?
It seems so. What's been happening is that these disappearances are mysterious, and so they're happening not in daylight, but perhaps the unfortunate that are there around closing time as it gets darker and more isolated. And we believe it's all happening around the
disappeared
pond.
As well. These have vanished?
Yes, vanished without a trace. And we fear that, and they happen around the pond, and so it would perhaps match the Kelpie's behavior. And the pond is opaque, good-sized, large, and opaque. So we're trying to eliminate it as a possibility, if you will.
Well, the pond itself, it's inland and I believe fed by the rivers. Fresh water, yes?
I believe that is correct, Doctor.
That would fit with a Kelpie. How it would get there, I suppose it could have reached there by the water. But I would have thought you found remains. They are voracious creatures, Kelpies, but they do not devour all, not like pigs or such things. There is remains left behind.
Could the remains be in the pond?
Have you explored? He looks to Sally. Have you investigated the pond as of yet?
And wide-eyed, looking at Sally with a pointed
I have to admit, it is rather repellent, that pond.
Who has...
And also, anyway, I wouldn't be able to see very far in that.
Sally, you've got knowledge... what do you call it? Paridar, right? Paridar lore?
I have some Paridar lore.
Yeah,
indeed.
give us a Paridar lore check, please. So here's the thing. The pond is a naturally forming body of water. It's not something that was fed or created. So Professor Galberry may be wrong about like his assumption that it's being fed from the river. It's a natural forming body of water. Remember what Basil told you that Mrs. Carrington had said. Yeah, precisely. It's like a naturally forming pond, like it's a naturally forming pond. Due to the geographic situations and the hydrology, it forms. It's not something that was created for the purpose of the park. I think Professor Galberry may be making the same mistake that some others make, that thinking that Eckhart built the park, including the pond, instead of just claiming, laying claim to a place that nobody really wanted to make use of beforehand.
Then I will bring that up. And I'll say, well, no, in fact, it's naturally occurring, although it seems rather polluted now, being as where it is.
Really? Then where? I interrupted you, Golag. What else makes you think that this was a Kelpie?
Well, I was going to throw in there, I don't know that it's related, but just as a result of our investigation on site, we did find an oddly placed hoof print, unshod, without any other tracks around it, in a shrubbery relatively near the pond.
Yes.
And near a bicycle that is associated with the missing father.
Kelpies are known to conceal themselves as beautiful steeds, equine of such enchanting beauty that those are compelled to ride them, then dragged down beneath the waters and consumed. Mm-hmm. But like many of its kind, the Kelpie is a metamorph. They can transform themselves from such beautiful things into vicious creatures of claws and fangs. Equally at home on the land or surface, land or water.
Do they have any vulnerabilities? I know that often such creatures have something which is their weakness.
They are creatures of the Fae, and as such, cold iron is anathema to them.
Interesting.
Yes.
Do you know if they charm, is their nature to charm a target, or would they charm a group of targets at a time?
Stitches,
usually
turns
one.
over.
They are solo hunters.
Sorry, John, what were you saying? Oh, you're muted.
You just answered it.
Okay. Well, Stitches doesn't know, right?
Well, no, he was going to look over and ask, do they travel in packs?
Oh, okay.
You said solo hunters, so.
Yeah. Professor Galberry looks at you and says,
No, they are generally singular hunters. Individuals. Territorial as well.
Because we were considering looking into it further, hopefully firming up the theory or eliminating it by spending the night in the park, actually. And so we wanted to better know what we were up against if by chance we did encounter one.
yes.
Territorial?
It seems strange, doesn't it? Territorial for such a creature in the middle of the city.
It is a mystery. If it is indeed a Kelpie, it's very out of its element then.
Like a fish out of water, as we like to say.
Mr.
Indeed.
Mayor, if you go swimming in the lake, would it not get angry with the pond?
I'll get angry. I don't know about it.
if it is in there and you transgress on its domain, like any caged or any creature whose territory was closed or was on which you infringed, it would likely respond with hostility.
So, Professor, if I may share something with you in confidence, we found...
With respect to this Kelpie?
Well, perhaps. It involves also involves our investigation at this park.
I see.
We found something that we aren't sure what to make of. There is a spire. One of the spires is in this park, quite near the pond. One of the city's spires.
Indeed.
And
the Paridar Common has many of them across, smaller versions of the larger ones. Yes?
Indeed. And this one has toppled from its pedestal, and they have replaced it with a statue. Happens to be of Eckert. Two things. One is that the statue is notably off in its angularity. It is
poor construction, you mean?
Yes, inexplicably so. Curiously and inexplicably so. And then combined with there is a magical aberration above it, which seems to be above it, which seems highly unusual given their non-magical, their stubbornly and relentlessly non-magical natures of these spires, if you would agree.
Yes, for as long as we have studied them, they have defied any form of divination or other ways of studying them naturally or with the arcane, and very impervious to damage. Indeed, the manner by which they were toppled is beyond the understanding of even the wisest of sages. But you say you noticed... This was the one in Eckert's Green.
Indeed.
What was it you saw? Can you describe for me what it was?
It appears to be perhaps a rift, some kind of anomaly, magical anomaly near the head of the statue, above it, to some. Unfortunately, at this point, unspecific amount away from the top of the statue. There is something going on there. A portal, a rift, some magical anomaly there that is seems unquestionably attached to associated with the statue, or at least associated with the area.
I do not purport to be a master or an expert on such things. My professional and academic interests lie elsewhere. But I know there is a prevailing theory that they're remnants of some form of travel stone. Though a key to which we have long since lost, taken no doubt by the creators of the spires, perhaps. But you say you saw a magical weakness.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it seems to be, at least at this point, quite preliminarily, it seems more of a accident than something on purpose. You know, it's like a weakness, as you say, something along those lines, something that's happened that's not constructed to be this way.
Might I ask, Mr. Golag, your reason for asking me to keep this confidential? Is that out of professional protection, or is there another reason you wish this not to be spread widely?
I am concerned and curious about how this somehow is different so radically from the other spires. And I don't know what to make of it yet, and it would seem best to find a little bit more about it before jumping to any for the public to jump to any conclusions. This kind of thing, that it should be explored first in a calm and methodical method, knowing how famous these spires are, and perhaps a reaction to something such as this.
Do you feel that there is a risk, though? If there is a portal forming here, would that not put the entire city at risk?
Perhaps. And I'm not necessarily suggesting that we tell no one. I'm just saying, not that you would, but I was just saying that, press conference type of a.
Might I propose an inquiry that may satisfy both your concerns, but allow us to learn more? I know you are acquainted with Professor Watson Fole, yes?
Yes.
He's a skilled diviner. And I would like to bring this to his attention so he might investigate this matter further. I also wish, if you would allow, I can do some discreet research into the prevailing theories of the spires. And if there is further information that can be found, I could share that with you.
That would be delightful, Professor.
There are truly a few mysteries that remain as prevalent in the public's mind and as impenetrable to those who study it as the spires. To offer new insight into the spires would truly be an achievement of a lifetime.
I've felt similarly.
Then I will send word and meet with Professor Watson Fole at our earliest mutual convenience, and I will discuss things with him. I trust he will have a better idea of how best to approach an inquiry into that damaged spire. You said it was located above the statue for Eckhart.
Indeed, it's a very good way to locate it. It's directly above the statue.
And perhaps the old man did have something useful come out of his donations, eh?
Yes, good point.
Then, thank you. Thank you for trusting me with this.
Of course. Thank you for your insight.
Of course.
One more last question. Is there a way? What would be your recommendation in forestalling a Kelpie charm? Is there a? Now I know you said that the iron. Would it be carrying iron? If someone carried iron, would it be more difficult for it to charm one, would you say?
Alas, unlikely, unless there was an enchantment placed on such a thing. There are invocations that can protect one from such magics, or at the least, bolster defenses against such things, but to render one immune, iron will not avail you as soundly as it is a effective weapon against such creatures.
Mm-hmm. If it tried to grab you, though, and you had the iron, I guess that would be helpful, because it would be repelled by such a thing.
Are you proposing a suit of iron of some kind? I imagine that would be most uncomfortable for it to grasp.
Probably not quite that comprehensive, but if we all had, for example, even a pole that once one was approached, one could, use it as a buffer.
They are not driven from it as, say,
the creatures of undeath can be driven. Instead, or the way, say, a summoning circle can prevent some from entering, creatures from the nether realms. No, it is more that it is a substance that is anathema to their enchanted flesh, and can be most effective. The legends say of using cold iron swords and such to dispatch such creatures.
Very good. I was just thinking if there was an easy way to protect.
I am concerned, though. I've never known such creatures, or never heard of such creatures, to be capable of travel between worlds. And if you've not found its lair, if it's not been evident where its leavings are, then unless it was leaving only bones which would not float, I would think that even a pond as large as that found in Occult Common, it would not be sufficient room to hide what remains.
We could be wrong. It's a theory. We don't have any actual evidence that a Kelpie exists. It fits the profile well, so we're
I'm more
investigating.
worried with what you told me of the weakness that you saw, that such a thing may be able to cross from its world. Two troubling things at once. The creatures from the shadow walking our world, and now creatures of the Fae? A troubling development, Golag. Something I will need to look into as well.
Yeah, the thought had occurred to me as well that it would explain why it's so far out of its element, if it is, in fact, a Kelpie.
In which case, take care. If it is able to walk between realms and its lair is located in such a place, we have limited ways of reaching such realms, and those taken to those places would not return.
It doesn't. Yeah, well, we'll need to see how, if it is a portal of some kind, how large it is and how accessible.
I will ensure to meet with Professor Watson Full this afternoon. This is a troubling development, and one that needs direction. I will ensure that he keeps the matter to himself, but there are obligations beyond your investigation to consider, Golag. Though, I imagine, Mr. Golag, if the missing individuals who you are, those who would ask you to look for such people, I imagine, are not those of means. So I appreciate your charity in investigating this tragedy.
Indeed. I will keep you apprised of our additional findings.
As will I. I will send word once Professor Watson Full and I have had an opportunity to speak.
Ms. Demir, Stitches, anything else you two can... any thoughts? To cover it?
Shakes his head. He says, I would like to know what's in this jar, though.
Which jar is that?
The one with the knight and the thing inside of it.
Oh, that is a conversation for another time. A small one.
Well, now I have a reason to come back.
You're welcome back. I would most appreciate a conversation with you when there are less dire tidings. Ms. Dumer, anything I can
assist for any further questions or matters that need to be brought to our collective attention?
I was wondering about birds, but I think there's no connection. No, I think that will do for now.
About birds?
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Seabirds?
No, they're these strange land birds. I'm told you call them owls and ravens.
You're seeing owls and ravens?
And they seem to be hanging around this this pond and showing an unusual and unnatural interest in us.
How many such things?
One of each.
One of each, you say?
And they appear to be communicating with each other. It seems all very unnatural. And combined with this possible kelpie, this park seems to be a very unhealthy place to be.
As I said, the kelpie are of such a creature that they are known to be metamorphs. Easily to shed their forms and adopt another. Many of the Fae can do such things, and though through strange rules unknown, or at least unknowable to mortals, they are often restricted in what forms they can take.
So would it be possible, perhaps, Professor, that this kelpie has a bird avatar as well?
I've never heard of such things, but anything is possible. The kelpies are creatures of, like others of their kind, they are bound by certain strange and capricious rules. Kelpies I've known only to adopt the forms of a vicious humanoid with a carnivorous horse head and of a beautiful horse. But there are other such things that can adopt other forms. A raven and an owl. The Fae often don't find the streets of our cities to be amenable to their existence. To find 3 such creatures all in the span of a similar location where there is a weakness between the realms, there may be a bigger picture than I know, though I've not known kelpies to be... They are solitary creatures for one, and while clever, not more clever than, say, a dog, they are quite stupid, as a rule. So, I wonder... I will need to... As you leave, would you mind telling Veronica that all lectures for this afternoon will be cancelled? I have research I must undertake.
I shall do.
I have no answers for you now, Ms. Dumer, but I hope to have some presently.
Fabulous, Professor. And Golak, your idea of camping in the park sounds delightful.
Take care.
Indeed.
If there are more things than just this kelpie a kelpie can be if the stories are to be true, or held to be true, a fearsome adversary. If it has allies. Take care.
Will do, Professor, and we'll be in touch.
Good. I wish you luck in your hunt tonight, and when things are more amenable to a friendly visit, Stitches, I would welcome you back here. Ben?
Yes.
If there's nothing further. So, you guys leave. Veronica, waves goodbye on your way out. And 2 things. 1, everyone gets a hero point. And 2, we're well past our midway session break. Why don't we take our mid-session break right now, and then we'll come back and see what you guys plan to do next.
3 is the max hero points, right, Kevin?
3 is the maximum hero points, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then it starts turning into damage. It's actually too much. Have you seen scanners before? Okay. So Ingolf just lost his landline. So
Oh no.
he is jokingly said he's been taken by the fiber optic Kelpie. Poor Ingolf.
Hopefully
Okay.
minus the devouring part.
Yeah, exactly. More players should really play this strategy. Yeah. Oh, geez, I seem to have lost my connection. Uh-oh. Okay, so as you guys are heading back from the what do you call it? Oh, let's let I just let him know that if it does come back, he can feel free to jump on right again. Oh, here we go. Look at that.
Level, yeah.
Let me put the thing back in there. Oh, here we go. And there we are. All right. Ingolf, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm back.
Nice.
So let me ask you this then. Is it racist to make a German joke about efficiency in repairing that, or?
No.
So, then, what do you guys talk? So you have an opportunity as you leave Professor Galberry's office to discuss what you've learned from him. What do you guys make of that?
Glad to have some official inquiry into the magical aberration, I think. To have gotten that started. Have we returned, Kevin? We're just in the ride back. Is that right?
Yes, you guys are. You can picture you're sort of. This is the shot where you guys are walking across the campus. Students are going by, but you guys are having an opportunity to talk to one another.
Stitches says if the bird thing is related to the Kelpie thing, and he said they were territorial and work alone, but there might be two of them. That's concerning.
Indeed. For our expectations tonight. Yeah, it would seem to behoove us to equip ourselves with some of this cold iron, perhaps. That would be, I think, prudent. I wonder... I'm not sure there's a go-to for that I would do to procure those. Should we just return to the park first and catch everyone up? Because I don't. It's not like I have a cold iron connection, if you will, to lean on.
You're not a cold iron guy? Come on. No. You call yourself a man of the city.
I know this guy.
Exactly.
Well, I think all we need is a blacksmith, right?
Perhaps.
You go horseshoes and are made out of iron. And we could just make some daggers and such like, or clubs made out of it. Out of just bar iron.
Does it have to be cold iron, especially?
He did say cold iron. The professor.
One of the upsides is that in Paridar, in spite of steel is ubiquitous in here too, there are still. It's not so technologically advanced that it'd be near impossible to find the raw unalloyed iron.
Well, maybe we stop by to move things along, and since we're talking about doing this evening, maybe we do make a stop, as you say, Ms. Dumer, at a blacksmith that perhaps we have had some association with in the past, or at least are aware of. And club, dagger. Those are both. Let's do so. Let's drop by and place an order. What do you think?
Yes.
Let's do that.
Okay. So what are you thinking of picking up?
I mean, I think
Yeah, really sunny. I just saw your joke about Canadian versus German internet downtimes. Yeah, one fucking service provider goes down and half the country is offline and can't make. No one in the country can make credit card payments. Germans, minute and a half.
Well, I think something like a stabbing dagger should be very easy to make for a blacksmith.
okay. That sounds good.
Do you wish to collect your allies before this? You know, in the concert with this, or?
I mean, I'm just thinking for the purposes of time, since we're actually speaking of doing this tonight, you know, not in a week, and we're already in the carriage. Let's just go by, place an order for 5 cold, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 5 cold iron daggers, and expedite the order. See what the possibilities of that is. Place the order if possible, and get it going.
Yeah, I think
unless Dr. Erstrand would just like something chunkier, like a large
a cold
club.
iron sledge or something like that. Like that probably is. It's not hard to. And it still need to be constructed, I suppose, because if you've got. Given the option of using steel or iron for it, I imagine you would prefer to have a steel hammer, but.
It's a steel bar would be quite painful to get hit with, I should think.
There you go.
I'm not sure I'd sign up for either, but I definitely agree that the steel would probably be less preferable.
Yes.
I also should have, on a non sequitur too, I should apologize. This weekend, I listened to a 2-part podcast on the biography of Alfred Krupp. I am very sorry for the inevitable version of the Paridar equivalent of Alfred Krupp that you will meet in this campaign, because what a fucking bastard. Yeah. Anyway, I was thinking all talk about steel manufacturing reminding me of that, of Alfred Krupp. So
Interesting. Yeah, we'll drop by. We will do our best to quickly locate. If we know of one, that would be preferable.
Sure.
But, I mean, if we've associated with one,
let's do
but
this.
if not, we'll just...
I think. Why don't you? Yeah. This will be like a gather information type thing. So you can use society, or you could use like Paridar lore. Try and track this down. If you can find someone who already can craft this thing, like it may just be a matter of picking them up as opposed to,
Do we want to do it discreetly?
Yep, you can use that, definitely. Sorry, what was that, John?
Do we want to do this discreetly so nobody would know what we're trying to get to, or just...
I guess we probably wouldn't tell him. I mean, we'd just say, look, we need, it's a little bit unusual, but it's not probably, I mean, I'm guessing it's probably not crazy,
That's that.
And we just order the daggers and 4 daggers and 1 steel bar, and
yeah, that's not quite the same. Like, that's for gathering information precisely. I said this is going to be like gathering information.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so this is
I see.
I mean, it's not a bad idea, but what's your concern about people over, like, who do you think might learn?
Well, if word gets out that we're looking for cold iron for maybe a Fae, that might start some murmurs, but
yeah, What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm not overly concerned. I think we just place the order, and okay. I don't. It's good conversation. It was a good thing to bring up to just in case.
Okay. So then, but I mean, I think Stitch's insight. I'm just reading the feat. Yeah, so like it doesn't allow you to use deception for gathering information. All it really does is it make it so if someone's trying to ask about you afterwards, then they have to beat your deception.
Yeah.
For it. So or your normal gather info if that's a higher score. So I'll let you benefit from that, though, if Stitches is just, maybe talks about the concern.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's other forces out there maybe looking into our activities, because they did mention the birds were spying on us.
Yeah, investigating our investigation.
Yes.
Okay. So, who would like to make the check then? And yeah, Sally, you can use your diplomacy. Or society instead. That's what I was thinking of it. Diplomacy is gather information. You can use society instead of diplomacy.
Yeah.
For Golag, sorry.
I'll make a...
is my favorite, but let's see.
Like diplomacy is quite good for Sally, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I will spend a hero point.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, man.
Unimpressive.
No, the 3 is not really great. Sally, you want to take that, or you want to...
I think I will re-roll that.
Okay.
Are we trying to get information on the blacksmith who can make this stuff?
Trying to locate someone who can make it, yeah. So I think, it's going to...
Are the blacksmiths on strike? Maybe they went on strike.
It's more a matter of, like, whether you can find someone who happens to have them already made. That was what it was. The only question is not locating the supplies itself. It's actually doing it. I'm not going to let Stitches make the roll yet, because I don't think you've been around the city enough to have those kind of contacts.
Yeah, I was thinking possibly in the future using his doll-like appearance to talk to some kids on the street, maybe see if they know somebody. But
okay,
maybe later on.
I don't know if that's
Paridar law?
Yeah, that's like kids knowing that's a bit of a stretch, I think. It also would probably freak the fuck out of them. So yeah, a doll walking up, put yourself in a doll wanders up to them. Hey kids, do you know any blacksmiths?
Chucky here.
I know your next mystery. Okay. Let's see here. So it is going to be about it won't be until the next day that you'll be able to purchase stuff. You're going to be able to get them made, no problem. It's just a question of when they'll be available. So I suppose it's a question of whether you wish to still proceed with your plan for tonight, or whether you postpone it for a day.
Well, let's. So I take it we did not secure a source, right?
Yeah, not for today.
So
the best they can do is tomorrow.
We'll go ahead to the park.
Okay.
We'll rendezvous.
Okay. So you guys arrive at the park probably. Sorry, go ahead, John.
Definitely notify the others and see if they want to continue it tonight or not.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys arrive, and what do you call it? You arrive back at the park. Basil and Dr. Ersprung, how have you been occupying your time while they have been absent? I mean, apart from your usual, like, little newspaper, big newspaper routine that you guys pull off.
Yeah. Is my clockwork spy? Is it can it be used underwater as well? But it only records audio, so it wouldn't make sense. No,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, there's only one way to find out, I suppose.
Yeah, I could just smash it, or that would be the easier way to put it. Adam, do you know if Iger can walk? I mean, he could walk the ground of the water, so maybe.
Yeah, I mean he's rainproof, but I'm not sure he's
waterproof
underwater.
Yeah, but just let him walk in. I don't know, a few steps, and then maybe walk out. And I think he will make an awful lot of noise.
I think it's definitely worth investigating the outskirts of the pond, looking for any more debris that may have washed up. And yeah, I think Igor will go for a bit of a paddle, like scoop up, see if he can scoop up something from the bottom of the pond. See if he can find anything.
Okay? So first, let's talk about the walk around. Well, actually, the more interesting thing is Igor going into the water. So what is because you don't have a telepathic connection with him either. So if he goes underneath, it's not like a familiar, like Golag's shadow. If it goes under the water and does not come up, what's the...
No, I mean, I'll be looking to test the depth of it. I don't want him to go underwater because I don't think...
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, I don't think...
It goes deep pretty quickly. Like,
Right.
it goes... he would be about 7 to 10 feet out from shore before it sort of, like, begins going down and fairly quickly forms a deeper area.
Yeah, so I'll sort of use the pretense that he's checking for sort of contamination, and we're trying to clean the place up a bit. But I want him to just sort of, where he's still not underwater, just scooping around on the bottom, looking for any sort of remains, really.
Okay.
It could be.
So by the bottom, you mean like the edge of the
Yeah,
pond,
so the
not
edge,
into the
it's-
middle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do this. Why don't we have Dr. Earthsprung assist Basil? Because Basil gets... I know you guys have the same bonus, I think, but Basil gets the bonus for the case from this. Why don't Dr. Earthsprung give us a perception check with +1 from Igor's assistance?
Okay.
From fishing around in the water.
Oh, I'm
Gonna spend a hero
reroll
point. You
that.
guys are all sitting on 3 hero points, so...
Yeah. There we go.
That 20, baby! Look at that. +2 to Basil's next roll. Love it.
Yeah, so maybe you should have rolled. Yeah.
No pressure, Basil. Okay, but with the +2 from... again, forgive me, is it +1 or +2 you get from your investigation?
+1. So, but
Okay.
I honestly, I think I might even re-roll that. It's the 10 and...
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Flex those
So,
big
yeah.
peepers.
Yeah.
Here we go. Come on, big money.
I think you should just let Igor walk a little bit over there. Seems
Okay.
to be more promising.
There you go.
Now we're talking.
Nice. So what you're looking around in here, and what you find as you're sort of going around, Igor hits at one point and sort of pulls up, and what you can see, Dr. Earthsprung, what he's yanking sort of out of the water near the side of the shore. And I think this is at Basil's direction. You're looking out, Basil, and you can see, what's that? It's not a stone, it's not a twig. What's that right over there? He goes over and pulls up, and it looks to be about 2 inches worth of a femur. You can tell from the knobbing of the end of the bone. It's small. So it might, be a child's or a smaller creature's bone, but you can, Basil, or Dr. Earthsprung, you would recognize instantly what bone it is, and it is broken off so, largest bone in the body, shattered quite handily by this thing, albeit on a small creature. But he pulls it up and brings it over. I think it's, unless it's a bone, it doesn't look like it's all not blanched white or anything like that. So there's not screams from the crowd or anything. It's not a skull that's everyone to recognize.
Fairly quickly, once I recognise it, secrete it. I'll just put it inside the jacket, whatever, one of my numerous pockets.
Do you want to give us a medicine roll too? See if you learn anything else from it.
Yeah. It's not very good either. I think I'm going to roll that again.
Okay. Fast and loose with the hero points. That's what I like to see.
Yeah.
None left on the table. If we're playing in person, this is where you guys will be throwing tokens at me. What you can tell is this is, in spite of the size of this thing, it is an adult's bone. There are just characteristics about it that suggest this is aged. So this is definitely a adult's bone, but quite small. Perhaps a gnome or a halfling, something like that. It's not bulky enough to be a dwarf. So it's not, what's his name? Dan Shay's, bone. But a halfling or a gnome would make sense.
Or possibly a kobold.
Kobold, no, only because their bone, their like the makeup of their skeletal structure is quite different from other humanoids. They've got that I can't remember what you call it, but it's the not transverse, but like the reversed knee kind of thing.
Yeah, a halfling was also missing though, wasn't it?
Halfling was missing, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oswald,
Well, I'll obviously share that with Basil.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think
yeah.
Basil maybe says the name out loud. Oswald Eade.
Yes. And there was also Alwyn Simpson, the kobold. So maybe this creature is living inside the pond.
Possibly.
Is this pond used for fishing or something like that? No.
Not really, no. At least you can't see anyone fishing here. Part of the reason why it wasn't popular with the rich folk too. Just this, it keeps getting overgrown. It's got a broken spire in here, and then it constantly, there's nothing really interesting about the pond.
Yeah. So Adam, I fear that if we challenge the thing that is inside the pond within the pond, we are on let me say this creature has a home field advantage. So couldn't we lure it out?
No one's you can't see anyone fishing with it. It doesn't prevent you from doing that.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe if we would just do some kind of loud noises if the people are gone and it's getting darker, we would just try to enrage it in some way.
Being something of an aquatic creature myself, what you could do would be to go fishing, but if we go back to the blacksmith, could make hooks and then put that on rope and throw that in and dredge, basically drag the water.
It's quite some size, this pond, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was thinking we need a small volunteer, sort of short, 3 foot tall sort of bait somewhere near the edge of the pond.
Yeah, I could do that. I have no problem with that, but I think if the stories are true, there should be someone tying a rope to myself, that you could pull me back if I try to go in the water.
Yeah, we could hide somewhere nearby. And maybe if you resist its charm, you could,
But now, just because I'm curious, are the raven and the owl still watching us?
Yes.
Adam, I think I'm going to do something stupid now. Let's just see how they react.
He moves his head like par for the course.
Stitches leans in and goes, "What kind of stupid?"
Well, you guys aren't there yet.
Oh, okay, never mind.
No, you guys are. Yeah, you're still traveling.
I would just go in the direction and see if I look at them, how they react.
Okay. If you look at them, you are able to walk right up to the base of this big, like yew tree, massive, sweeping arms, the wild growth beneath it too. Like you're walking into this, like the fledgling, growth that would become bushes and whatnot later, ferns maybe like that you stomp through, and you're able to look up, and both of these avians are looking down at you.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk?
Both are looking just down at you.
Okay. Was worth a try. So I would turn around, go back to Adam.
They're definitely interested in you rather than the statue then.
Both eyes are on you, not the statue now.
So, but I could imagine one thing following me. So then I would just, when I meet Adam again at the shore, I would just say, tell him about what I found out about the Whisker network. I think I would confide in him that there seems to be something like that, and maybe one of those animals is from those, but I don't think that both of them are.
But they seem friendly towards each other, which seems unlikely for two different species like that.
Yeah, I think they are not. I think they're related to this pond.
They seem to follow you.
Really? I think they're just watching the pond. If we both go away, then they would just stay.
Yeah, well, we can test that theory while we're in the park, while we're waiting for the others. We can walk away from the pond, to the other side of away from the pond. That it would be obvious they were watching us rather than the pond.
If you do that as you sort of, because I'm assuming you're in the afternoon that you have to, or the hours that you have to spend, you've done a full circumference of the park, or the pond rather. You can't see them taking flight, but you see them almost like waiting for you at some point. You lose track of them at a certain point, but you know that you'll find them as you're making your way around the pond.
So they are following us around the pond.
And they didn't seem very interested in me. That's why I say they're watching you. Because when I left the park, they stayed and continued to watch. But
I don't know. I don't like that they didn't want to talk to me. That is a little bit frustrating. No one wants to talk to the Izoki. Yeah.
I mean, there is a historical relationship between owls and rats.
Yeah, but how many rats have eaten owls? I mean, that's not...
So it's around that point, unless there's anything else you guys wish to do, that probably takes a few hours to do a full, thorough search of the pond. You don't find anything else. The only thing you're able to spot, and it was tricky to spot it, was the broken bit of a femur. And that's when Golag, Sally, and Stitches arrive. This is the first time you've seen Stitches apparently is up from his nap.
Well...
So what do you guys say to one another? And
Greetings.
Where is it you meet? Do you meet up near where the Eckert statue is, or elsewhere in the park? Near the entrance outside of it?
I mean, wherever we find them, where would we most likely
I think we'll still be near the pond, I should
think
imagine.
That Basil and Dr. Earthstronger probably finished up their tasks before you guys are, because you were traveling around town trying to find a manufacturer of it. It is likely close to supper time when you guys are arriving.
And what time does the park close?
Park closes at sundown, which would be, I believe, about 9 o'clock tonight. So still have about 3 hours to kill. And there are vendors that are moving around in Paridar Commons in general. There's still like vendors, like hot dog vendors and such. I suppose schnitzel vendors that are out selling things.
Yeah,
So that checks out.
Greetings, everyone. As you can see, Stitches.
So just so I understand, where is it you're meeting up with them? Basil and Dr. Earthsprung, would you be waiting for them near the pond, keeping an eye on it, as you said?
Certainly within sight of it, so we can see him return, yeah.
So you guys come over. Golag has a put-upon look on his face because he was unable to track down that cold iron stuff. It is very difficult to tell what expression Stitches is wearing.
As you can see, Stitches has awakened and is with us.
Oh, that's good.
Hello, everybody.
Yes. So we had a very insightful meeting with Professor Gallberry. He found it all quite fascinating. He has, let's see, he gave us some good information on the Kelpie, suggested that the easiest prevention we could possibly take is to be perhaps armed with cold iron, some kind of cold iron instrument, weapon of some kind, which the Kelpie is vulnerable to as a fey creature. Next, he is going to launch a somewhat discreet investigation into the magical anomaly above the statue, also incorporating more Professor Morris Watson Fole into the mix. But they're going to he agreed to try to get a bit more information on what's going on before going public with it, as it were. And yet we agreed it's important that an investigation does take place immediately, because it could have, if there is some kind of portal, it could hold dangers to the city. So he is going to start with that forthwith, even this afternoon, I believe, as we heard him cancel classes. And we agreed to keep each other apprised of our own inquiries. What else, Ms. Dumir? Stitches? What else did anything? What else was, if anything? Did I miss anything?
Nothing very dramatic.
Territorial, likely hunt alone. Maybe capable of shape changing.
And agreed about the horse, the very alluring apparition of a horse, or not apparition, but a transformation into a horse of some type, unicorn, that would match with the hoof print that we shared with her, the news of. Now, unfortunately, we were trying to be efficient, and on the way here tried to locate a blacksmith that might have just such iron weapons ready to go. Unfortunately, we failed in this endeavor. Not sure we're going to be able to, therefore, appropriate them for tonight, and perhaps propose that we postpone such an overnight until we do. What do you think?
I have an idea. If I could get a good look at these birds, I might be able to see what they know. If they are more than birds, I think.
Well, they've certainly been watching us all this time.
Yeah. Just so that you are up to date, we found the remnants of Oswald Eek.
We think, as I show him the femur bone.
Oh. The remnants of, is that the husband?
No, that was a
halfling.
So there were three persons missing by name. That was a kobold, a halfling, this was Oswald Eek, and our dwarf. So maybe this Kelpie likes to target smaller creatures. So Adam has volunteered me to be his bait.
Aha. Well, excellent. And so we're going to tie a rope to you and throw you in the lake? Was that, or the pond? Is that the plan? Was that the plan?
I think just tie a rope around me, that's a good idea, but not throw me into the lake, just let me stand on the shore.
Well, Adam's pretty strong, so he could try fly fishing with you. That would be
Aha. No, it's good to see you two, or did not waste your time. Had some good brainstorming while we were excellent. Well, reschedule, you think, for the next night though, until we appropriate such iron weapons?
just in case.
Maybe precautionally, but I think I will stay till the park closes to make sure no unfortunates are left inside the park after dark.
Do you think if we stay here till the park closes that we can leave without harm? I think if those birds are connected to the creature within the water, there will be some kind of reaction there.
I mean, leave before the gates are closed, but make sure everyone else is left as well.
Yeah.
That's what I meant more than.
I think that seems reasonable.
Only for my own peace of mind.
So, but
And I can stay with whoever.
try.
I can stay with whoever stays because I can see in the dark, and I can probably harm the Kelpie anyway.
Well, like I say, as long as the park clears as normal, I don't think there'll be an issue. But you just don't want to leave it to chance that someone may go walkabouts when the only night we.
There haven't been.
Let Stitches try first, and then we see what he knows or what he can find. What he finds out.
Do we know how old the bone is?
There was something about a month ago, or maybe a couple of months. So it just
Okay. Well, Stitches will need to get within about 30 feet of the birds. And then he'll use one of his focus spells.
What are you thinking here, John?
I could take you there. They don't react negatively to me.
I was thinking brain drain. It does mental damage, which is non-lethal, so I shouldn't kill the thing. But maybe I'll get access to a memory it has or something.
Okay.
See if
So you're going to attack the birds.
Yes.
Oh, I guess I don't know that because I would be against that. But if you say you would just try to investigate them, I would take you without problem.
Yes.
Okay. So there is a owl. So to get within 30 feet, you're going to need to really be like almost directly underneath them. So are you trying to use this on the owl or on the raven?
I think I'll choose the owl.
Okay. All right. So what does it look like as you manifest this?
So there's like very, very faint whispers that usually around Stitches that are barely audible to him. But this is one of his curse tide focus spells, so they'll become more audible around him, and they're almost not deafening to him. So he'll take like a -4 to his initiative till he rests. But basically, the whispers start to grow more powerful, and there's kind of like this mental image of his, like an astral ghostly form of him, like reaching with long arms towards the brain of the owl.
Okay. So as you do, it hits, and the form of your spell breaks apart like mist being hit by the daylight. And then what you know, the only information you glean is that the owl makes eye contact with you, Stitches. It makes note of you, and then it and the raven fly off into the woods, and very quickly you are unable to see where they are.
He shakes himself, and he kind of plugs where his ears would be on his head briefly, and concentrates, and says, they are smarter than they look.
So you tried to make contact and they flew off then?
So I tried to probe its memories forcefully because it resisted, but it's very strong.
I see.
And that's a fair description of it. Like, it almost effortlessly cast off that.
Oh, very interesting. So imagine that there is really this thinness between our realms, and there's maybe let me put it this way, a creature that is more powerful behind all of that. And it's scouting the ways around in Paridar, then maybe that creature would be more powerful, because I think this Kelpie creature is maybe dangerous, but it's not as powerful maybe as this.
Do you think this owl may be opening a gateway?
No, I think maybe it is kind of the spy in our realm, just scouting our realm for that person on the other side, but I don't really know.
It doesn't. The birds. I think I would have thought the birds would act differently if it was attached to the Kelpie. So I'm feeling like we've at least gone some distance to eliminating that possibility that the birds are attached to the Kelpie, associated with.
No, I'm not sure. So they might be. The Kelpie is just, if I understand correctly, like more or less like a mindless, not really mindless, but more or less intelligent creature hunting for prey. But if this is some kind of another realm, there might be more dangerous and even more capable foes on the other side.
I think it makes more sense that the birds would be associated with the latter than the former at this point.
Yes. So
Yes.
yeah.
And you think they're spies or watching out for something bigger and more dangerous?
On the other hand, it might be the opposite way around. So we might be afraid of them, but they might be even more afraid of Paridar reaching into their realm. You know our people.
Perhaps they fear the shadow of illuminators.
Yeah, maybe.
I get the impression that owl didn't look very scared.
No.
Oh, come. I thought it was startled. He's just joking.
It seemed to take notice of me, particularly.
Stick close, Stitches.
I think I offended it.
We don't want you getting carried off by an owl.
That would be very easy.
Well, why don't we, unless there's an objection, we'll postpone our overnight for an evening, and any number of us can. I mean, I agree. I wouldn't think there's a great threat just by seeing the park closed. I mean, there haven't been that many disappearances. Like, it seems to choose fairly carefully. I mean, there may be more than the 3 we've heard of, but it's not. It doesn't seem like it's nightly. You know, it's so. I would think that wouldn't be, but perhaps not alone. So the good doctor, and I think Ms. Dumire said she might also keep him company for the park's closing, and then.
I'll do that.
What else would we, now that we have an extra day, if there's anything, already been to the university? Oh, of course, the weapons, so we can follow up on that. Anything else anyone had? Any tasks or errands?
You've put an order in. You've put an order in for the weapons for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Did I? Okay, good. I want to make sure that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yep.
Okay.
So yes, that is in progress. What about? Well, I mean, this is only one of our investigations. I mean, maybe. What did we have on the slate, if anything, regarding the Black? Help me. The ship.
The Black Wall.
The Black Wall. Maybe the Black Wall, or what? Or what Ms. Dumire ran into in the ocean, in the harbor, rather. Any loose ends that we?
Well, we haven't got to the bottom of the harbour, but
So
Well, I did.
yeah, just because I'm very paranoid in a way. So the magician that we left behind the last time, that we couldn't comprehend. The woman I lost her name. She hid in the shadows.
the witch.
I don't think she was a witch actually, but she is not able to change or use familiars like these animals, I guess. That's not her
What witch
style.
are you talking about, Basil?
No, not a witch. It was this. How was she called? The woman who hid in the shadows and was helping this Augustus Thorngrove.
Oh, right. You are thinking of... Where is she?
And I thought we didn't we were not able to capture her, so she is still missing.
Gwendolyn Fallow.
Yes.
Did we chase her to the train? Oh no, we chased one.
No. We never found her. So
No, after you guys confronted the transformed version of Augustus Thorngrove, then you never found any evidence of her. All the other affected members of the Elder Order of the Endless Odyssey had returned to normal, but she was missing.
So we don't lack enemies. Let me put it this way.
You collect them like they're Hummels.
I may have
It's a good
created a
thought.
new one.
Of reminding us of possibilities, no doubt.
And such as you're not wrong there. The look that owl gave you was definitely not one of friendship.
That it gave stitches.
Yeah. John had said that. He says, I think I may have made a new one. I was just confirming that, yep, that's your correct read of that interaction. Yeah, you're officially a member of the Eliminators now.
Yeah.
So, seemingly unthinkably powerful creature. Let's just poke it. That sounds about right.
Yeah. Anything anyone can think of to do about the ship that we have we'll have some time for if we can think of a lead.
Goliath's got his hand in his pocket, playing with the insurance agent's card once again.
Flicking it.
Well, I can go swim in the harbour again and see if I can get any signs of that which was very speedy, but I'm not sure what else we can say at this point.
Yeah,
we would need to find out where these Dark Tide Riders, I think they were called, where they would try to meet or so. I don't know how we could find that out.
Because that was our current theory, right? That
Yeah, definitely.
the crew had been infected, if
Yes.
that's the correct word, by the parasites.
Yep.
So that's why I was in the harbour trying to see if I could find another infected crewman.
Well,
Yeah.
the bodies are just washing up, aren't they? Well, I think 2 have washed up. Or 2.
Yeah, and I think we should have a look. Did we find out where they got infected? It was close to the harbor, wasn't it?
Well, we've only found bodies, so we don't know if
There's
it was on the
been one
journey
body
or...
of the crew members that has been recovered, but that was kept secret by Dr. Green and the 9th Paridar Medical Corps.
Yeah, and we found the code of another one within the sea.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
So,
it's a coat of one of them. Whether it's the same one or a different one is unknown.
yeah.
Dr. Earthsprung, you may recall there was some horrific damage to the body as well.
Well, mainly skull, wasn't there? Then burrowed in or something.
There was that, but there was also damage to the body aside from that. So remember the creature that they recovered and was holding? It was not whole. It seemed to have suffered damage as well.
So maybe someone is out there hunting them.
I mean, our assumption had been, wasn't it, that the crew had abandoned the ship. They'd been on the ship, and the ship just, the ship was whole. The ship wasn't even robbed, right, Kevin? The ship had its...
Everything was still on board the ship, yeah.
Yeah. So that suggests that, the crew, it had not been taken over, or it had not struck something. It had not, it had just been abandoned. And so the natural theory would be is that the crew had been infected on board, because that caused them to abandon it, leaving the ship whole, including even the cargo, which you would expect at least the cargo to be gone. If there was any other theory, almost requires the cargo to be gone or the ship to be damaged, at least.
Yeah, okay. So I think at least we should leave the park then today, because I think there is nothing more to be done, and then we can think about a strategy, what to do next day to find out something about the ship, maybe.
Yeah, I guess we'll just leave Ms. Demir and Dr. Ursprung to close it up until closing. And we'll go. We'll back into the carriage and
head
get some
back.
proper food at the.
So it's Ms. Demir and Dr. Ursprung are the ones who are staying behind?
Yep.
Yeah, only to sort of last call to close the gates to make sure that everyone's out of the park.
Okay. So
where's Stitches going? Is he coming with us, or?
Made enemy with Big Owl, not wanting to stay out in the open.
Seems to make sense.
We'll close the windows of the carriage, Stitches. Hey, where's Stitches?
Playing like a doll in the corner.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so when I think what we close with is that the evening is not is inconsequential. There's nothing of interest that happens as you guys as the park clears out, and then the last people will go. When suddenly you've been sort of keeping track of where people are, Sally and Dr. Ursprung, as best you can. You know that if Basil was here, he would know precisely how many people there were and when they were leaving. But you do your best to keep track of that. And then as the shadows are particularly long, and you keep, again, like you still have that feeling of that something is watching you the entire time. You don't spot anything, but you do definitely feel that, and you hear the sound of every time there's a bird that flies, whether it's a raven or an owl or something else, your mind goes to those two that have been tracking you for all this time. You arrive back taking a higher carriage. Everyone else is back at the office, having spent a couple of hours doing whatever they're doing, getting themselves, eating for one later meal, as well as preparing themselves for the next day. When Sovin comes to you, Sally, as you come in, you're maybe going upstairs to change because you've been out, trumping through the muck and whatnot, getting yourself cleaned up before, having a very late dinner. And he says, Ms. Demir, there was a message for you that came. Mrs. Hunter.
A message?
Indeed. Oh. Mrs. Hunter. It seems.
And what is the message, pray?
She has extended an invitation to you to luncheon tomorrow. She says there is someone she wishes to introduce you to, a gentleman who proposes an expedition to your homeland.
My goodness me.
And with that,
how interesting.
That's precisely where we will leave our session. Oh, my goodness me. So for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for part 3 of the Ill Tidings at the Poverty Pond session, or mystery. As is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, the campaign, or the game we're playing, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. In addition, there is a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where all of us are active. You can find a channel dedicated to, I'm trying to think, is there a campaign? There's definitely a Pathfinder 2 channel. I can't remember if there's a Spires of Paridar one. If not, maybe I need to think about setting one up, but
I think there is one for players.
Oh, there's one for players. Okay, got it. And then there's a Pathfinder 2 one, but we talk about Spires of Paridar there. Any comments, questions, or concerns, you can also find us over there. There's not only all the players here who are active over there, there's also a great community that is built up, and you are more than welcome to join us over there. There's also, great channels like Finding a Group, or information about virtual tabletops, information about conventions, both online and in person, that are coming up. Sean is a terrific source of all the bundles of holding that are currently going on. So if there is an obscure game that is suddenly going to become available, Sean will make sure you are aware of it. I've been able to fill a couple of collections with PDFs doing that. And in addition, there's channels dedicated to all the other campaigns we run on the channel. As well, there is a link down below to something called Heroes Save Villages. That's the charity fundraising campaign we run on the channel. It benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, a really great organization active in over 130 countries, benefiting over 80,000 orphan and abandoned children. And there's a couple of ways we say thank you. I guess first off, all donations that go through that link go directly to SOS Children's Villages International and benefiting the kids who benefit from their activities. None of it goes to the channel or any other middleman. But as a small way of saying thank you, we have a couple of things. One of them is our this year, it's been every 6 months we've been doing it, but our charity raffles. We just had our most recent charity raffle in the middle of June, and you can find all the prizes that we gave away on the Charity Initiatives channel on the Dungeon Musings Discord server. Some great prizes, including some prizes from our friends at Beetle and Grimm's Pandemonium Warehouse. There is as well our next charity raffle will be in December 2022. So we'll, if you every $25 Canadian that you donate will give you one chance to win one of the grand prize, either the grand prize or one of the other great prizes in our next charity raffle. We gave away a bunch of T-shirts and posters and such as well. So lots of great prizes. And in addition to that, you will also have an opportunity to spend the money that you donate for our charity sessions. Our next charity session will be 2 weeks, well, actually 13 days from now. It will also be a Pathfinder 2 adventure, and it will also be in a custom setting. This time, we are taking to the stars in a space opera science fantasy adventure called Stellar Revolt. If you are enjoying our Spires of Paridar campaign, we are taking a similar approach, giving a different riff. So if you, on the Pathfinder 2nd Edition rules, everything that's true in Pathfinder 2nd is true in that setting, but we're putting much more of a Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon or Star Wars kind of vibe to it, complete with, we've got some house rules for blasters, for dogfighting and starships and stuff like that. So it should be a really fun fun adventure. And if you've donated since June 15, 2022, you can spend money to help affect that session. We're going to have other charity sessions from now until the end of year. So if you spend the money, if you have donated since June 15, 2022, be sure to check over on the Charity Initiatives channel and see what you could spend that money to help affect our session, either to make things easier or make things more difficult for our heroes. But speaking of our heroes, the last thing I will say is a huge thank you to our stalwart illuminators. Another session that has flown by. So Sean, James, Ingolf, Darren, and John, thank you so much for playing tonight, guys. Excellent job uncovering even more of the mysteries awaiting you in the streets of Paridar. We'll be back with this campaign in 2 weeks' time, but until then, we hope that we gave you a few hours to take your mind off of the troubles of our world and think about the troubles that have been uncovered by our stalwart illuminators in the shadows and streets of Paridar. Until we see you again, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.